Hello, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. I am Jacqueline Jax, and I have a watercolor class at jacquelinejax.com if you want to come and check it out. There's a sketchbook class for beginners right now, and also a watercolor florals for beginners. This is actually the latest class that I just uploaded to that one. And it got me thinking about some questions that you guys have on our group page, and that's about the colors that I use in my watercolor palette over here. So if you see me in the tutorials and stuff, you know that I am kind of always pulling colors from this palette, despite the fact that over to my left, what you don't see is this amazing, huge, big set of watercolors by Schmincke that I have. And I pull from it all the time, but what you guys pretty much only see is this palette. Well, this one I like because I can just kind of put loose ones in here that I'm using from the other palette right away, and it's just kind of smaller, right? So I do keep this one in front of me, and I also take things from the tubes and I refill in here. The reason why I like the wells is because they're deep, and I don't really need to clean it out much because watercolor, you know, you're constantly layering, and I pretty much just like whatever's, you can clean up a little bit of it and start with fresh color no matter what you're doing, really. It's not, you don't, it's like one of those things where if you have a color that's contaminated, you can't add more color on top of it. Like I was mixing in here and there's some contaminated green that got in there, and I literally just put more watercolor on top that's still drying, and I can just choose from there, or I can use some of the greens from the bottom, but it doesn't matter. In any case, I thought I would get on here and talk about some of the paintings that I've done in this class and some of the beautiful colors that you've seen and what they are, because there are some colors that I do use more often in my classes and also on my YouTube channel. And like this is the watercolor florals for beginners, and some work so much better than others, right? Like these are great for transparents, and these are like Quin Rose, and some of the blues like the some blues are like transparent and some are not, right? So in the classes, I tend to use more transparent colors and not take those chances, right? So that you can get those beautiful, beautiful shades and shifts whenever you want to. Okay, so I have been putting this book together, and what this has is a lot of the lessons that I'm teaching in the courses. So I thought maybe I would start here because I tend to pull my favorite colors for the courses. And we'll just kind of go through and I'll talk a little bit about some of the basics. One that I love is this yellow, and this is Nickel Azo Yellow. It is such a warm, beautiful color. It lifts semi well, you know, like you can do a lot with it. If you do wet on wet, it gives you these beautiful tones, and then you can gold it up. So like these areas where I golded it up are Quin Gold. So this is a mix of two colors here. So that's Nickel Azo Yellow and Quin Gold. Then here I've done Imperial Purple with Manganese Violet and Quin Rose. So there's three colors used there. And then down here I've used just indigo. And that's just a beautiful soft color that I can actually lift surprisingly well. You know, I did the same, very similar here, except on these I've actually gone more of the Pyro Scarlet way, you know, and mixed a little more of the Quin Gold into the Quin Rose. So just a slight variation of it. See where there's more purple with the Imperial Purple, but then this one doesn't have Imperial Purple, so it's more red. This here is Manganese Violet mixed with Ultramarine, and then the centers are Quin Gold and Opera Pink. Beautiful, huh? This one here was done with one of my favorite colors, which is Mayan Genuine and Indigo with a little bit of ultramarine. Yeah, I know. It's really pretty. It's different. It's like you have to kind of like mix these colors together if you really want to. I should put this one in here. If you really want to come up with something really unusual. This one here was Quin Gold, Aussie Red Gold, and Quin Rose. And then down here I actually mixed the green, but you could get this green just from Cascade Green or Cobalt 533. That's a really great color. I recently used that in the latest tutorial that's just been loaded to the watercolor flowers for beginners class, and that's the Cascade Green there. See, so it's very, very close, but you can mix this green with like an ultramarine. I think I used ultramarine and a little bit of the nickel Azo Yellow. Will come up with something very, very close to this for sure. Let's see what else we have in here that's interesting. See, these are beautiful. I love these colors, and that's what's in here. So for instance, this one, which I know you guys have asked me about, is a layer of nickel Azo, a layer of Aussie Red Gold, a layer of Quin Gold. That's my husky. Don't mind her. She's just trying to get attention. A layer of Quin Rose in the center. And then once again, just I mixed up ultramarine with one of the yellows to get that. And then this is just kind of another variation of mixing these together to get it a little more dusty. That is not watercolor. This one here is a beautiful one. I'm trying to think of what I did. I think I used for this, like, I believe I used the Mayan Genuine and a little bit of indigo. And I think here is, it's Perylene green. Perylene green. That's a good one to have in your palette. But do you need it? No, not really. I mean, you could get that, you know, but I do like Perylene green. That's this one that I have by Schmincke. And it's really a beautiful color. It's really, really pretty. And it's got a lot of really good qualities to it because it's got that depth. This here is Manganese Violet. This is our Splash Flower series with Opera Pink and a little bit of Azo Yellow. I'd have to look back at the tutorial on this one. I know this is the Cascade Green or Cobalt Green, but I feel like there was another yellow I mixed in here. I think it was like Hansa mixed with nickel Azo. These are nickel Azo for the yellow, Opera Rose, then just like a Helio Cerulean blue, which I really, really love. And that gets that shade of purple for you so that you actually get that shade of purple. These here are Helio Cerulean with this bright green, which is just like a sap green. Really, really pretty color. Sap green. Yeah, this is just simple. And a little bit of cobalt turquoise. That's really funny and bright to use if you like that. These are really moody ones. I'll probably skip over these because that's like a whole nother way of going with watercolor. But basically, if you want to add, to get stuff like this, if you want to add just this one color to your palette, this will pretty much gray everything out. Burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is used by watercolor artists, purists especially, because they get all of these more earthy tones by mixing them with the blues and the greens, and you know, you get stuff like that. Really bright tones come with very clear colors, so you'll want to go with like Hansa and nickel Azo with a little bit of Aussie Red Gold in here to produce that. This one is done with like a very, very light green, which you can mix just by taking the Hansa and mixing it with ultramarine blue or one of your other blues. Like you could mix it with your Helio turquoise or cerulean blues, and that's going to get different shades of greens, you know. I think the ultramarine, it kind of gives you more of a like, let me see here. Where am I gonna, I need a scrap sheet of paper for you. So if we take a little bit of like Hansa Yellow, and we mix it with the ultramarine, you can see it gets kind of a little more shady green, you know, like a little more shady green. It's not as bright, but it's still pretty bright. So just a little bit more here. But pretty bright, pretty nice, right? But if you want like really, really bright greens, then you use helio, cerulean, or a phthalo. And now you're talking about a really, really, really bright green. See how much brighter that is? So you get like the moodier greens with the ultramarine because it's granulating color, and it's also just got those lavender undertones. But like a helio cerulean or a helio turquoise, phthalo turquoise, those are going to be like really bright and very saturated. So they're going to look extraordinarily bright there, you know, to get those like really limey greens. So that's just a little bit in color mixing. This is a really pretty color too. It's beautiful. It's like, you know, there's so many that I like. Let's do it this way. Here was a lesson. Let me look at this. So I feel like in any palette, there's going to be like a warm and a cool of everything. And I tend to have a dual palette like that. So if you look at this palette, these are just more brights. Okay, so this is a good example. So the Azo Yellow mixed with Aussie Red, Quin Gold, ultramarine blue gets us this lavender when it's mixed with Quin Rose. So just with these 5 colors here, you can get all of these colors, including the greens, just by mixing the Azo with the ultra. You get all these are those moody greens. See, they're bright, but they're also very moody. And they have a lot of sediment in them, right? So there's granulation that I find is really fun to use. And then the Azo mixed with the Quin Gold gives you like this orange. And then Aussie Red kind of gives you like the orange going to more of the red. And then Quin Rose mixed with Aussie Red gives you more of a reddish pink, which I really love. It just explodes. It's just such a great pop of color. Looking at this palette here, this is a great neutral palette for light pink people. So if you like very, very neutral, easygoing kind of palettes and flowers, this is a really nice one to do. And this is magenta or Quin Rose, which either that you like. I like to add a little opera pink, even though this is not light fast, but Rhodonite Genuine is also a great version of that is a little more light fast. Manganese Violet, I feel like I can never live without because it's granulating, it's lifting, and it just adds all of these beautiful values to your watercolor. So I would say one of these, I tend to use one or the other. Really, this is more blue and this is more warm. So magenta is a little more warm. That would kind of go here. Quin Rose would be a contrast. Manganese Violet is beautiful and warm. Works great with Ultra Pink. It works great with Potter's Pink, which is in here and is a little more peachy tone. Ultra and Potter's Pink are beautiful. Tundra Pink is also a really pretty color. It's a super granulating color from Schmincke. One of my favorites for sure, and that's up here. So you can see the qualities of it. On 100% cotton paper, literally these colors paint themselves. They really do. Pyro Scarlet is a bright, very, very bright red. You can make a lot of mistakes with this red. It's not the easiest to control, but at the same time, you can get something really beautiful like this when mixed with yellow. So, you know, good to have in your palette for sure. Cascade Cobalt is pretty much everywhere in my stuff. And there's that Perylene green, the 565 by Schmincke that I like. This is, you know, Quin Gold and Ultramarine mixed together. It's just a great green, you know, that you don't need to buy. So by having Ultramarine in your palette and having Quin Gold in your palette, you're going to get a lot of different variations of this, like very natural green, you know, like here and here. And then by having a bright yellow as well as your Quin Gold, then you can go from this and shift into even brighter tones. So I would say that this is a really good starting point. Maybe just pick one of these right? Whichever you like the best, whether it be Potter's Pink, which is really fun, Ultra Pink, which is really blue, Tundra Pink, which is kind of half and half. Again, they look very, very different. This is actually a really great way to show you color because I can just put a bunch of colors here and then paint with them. You can see how they work together. To get this purple, this is actually ultramarine, just layered on top. Yeah, and that's really nice. So let's go through maybe my palette here and I can give you an idea of some of my favorites. It'll just kind of like get me thinking about it. Honestly, guys, I just love all watercolor. It's really hard. I was thinking today, like, oh my gosh, I have every color, I think, but I don't. I actually don't. There are more colors to be had. more, and more. All right. So can you see? Yes. So let's go through them. So Hansa Yellow, really beautiful and bright yellow. I find that this one is somewhere in between a cool and a warm. It's kind of not lemon and not the warmer yellows. This is lemon next to it. As you can see, if you could get any brighter, the lemon is actually significantly brighter and much more cool. So this is Hansa and this is lemon. Do I need both? Absolutely not. I consider my Hansa my go-to one, but lemon of any, especially Schmincke, is also beautiful too. So you can do either. They're both so similar, honestly. But the one that I don't want to live without is Nickel Azo. Nickel Azo has that warmth, and I find that it's a much more moody yellow to work with. So when I'm looking for moodier mixes, then this is the one. The Azo is what I go to. The red gold is a beautiful color, and I find that I use this a lot in sunsets and also when I want to add a lot of warmth to a painting. It's so much nicer than cad orange, you know? Like I feel like this just has more depth and quality to it that I really love. Yeah, it's just really pretty, you know? It's a gorgeous color. Let me get you closer. Okay. There we go. The next one is Quin Gold. How can we live without Quin Gold? When they said they were discontinuing this color, I was like, no. So I bought a bunch of it. So I have a ton, but they've since come up with another alternative and it works just as nice. But Quin Gold is what I pull for warming up values in greens, like warming up greens to blues. So if you take Quin Gold, for instance, and you mix it to ultramarine, you're going to get a gorgeous, moody looking green that is just lovely. You can hardly go wrong with that. And I zoomed in so much you guys can't see it. There it is. So this is ultramarine. And Quin Gold. Isn't that beautiful? And you get that gorgeous olive, so you don't need to buy that color at all. And then you add a little more blue and you get one thing. You add a little more green, you get, or a little more yellow, you get another. Quin Rose, wonderful choice. Now, if you notice how bright this one is, I actually keep this one in my palette at all times over the magenta, surprisingly. Now, I will still grab magenta for so many things. Really, magenta is beautiful. Here's the Schmincke magenta. Just because I don't have it in this palette right now is just because I'm just using a lot of Quin Rose currently. But you can see this re-wets so nicely and they're so close. Now this is my way of getting a light fast pink into something. So this is magenta. These are all by Schmincke mostly. And this is Quin Rose. Quin Rose gives me a little more texture. Magenta is a little more cleaner, but they're both lovely. And to me, they're interchangeable. Manganese Violet is probably my most used purple because it's so flexible, but it also lifts really easily. And it's got granulation in it. So it's one of those like, oh, I love you colors. You know, I can use it to just do so many things. Manganese Violet. Opera Pink is a very fluorescent pink. So it is not light fast, despite what they try to tell you. It will fade and it will just disappear. So you don't want to use too much of it unless you're doing print. Your originals probably won't last very long. It will fade fast, especially in light. But if you use Ronadite Genuine is very, very hard to re-wet. It's by Daniel Smith, and a lot of their colors are so hard to re-wet. Literally, I will sit here forever. You can see, can you see? I don't know. I'm sitting here trying to re-wet this, and it's just not working. But it's very close to the Opera Rose. It's got that really, really bright pink kind of quality. Is it worth it? I mean, they do charge a lot more for it, to tell you the truth. I don't know that I would. I don't head out to buy it. You know, I ordered it. I still am on one tube in my lifetime. You know, I have a ton of Opera Rose for print. You know, for things that I do print florals or things for YouTube. But I think Ronadite is a great alternative. And if it were between the two, this is obviously cheaper, but this is more lasting. So always go with the more lasting, really. This is a cobalt blue. Everybody should have a cobalt blue in their palette. What's the difference between the cobalt and the ultramarine? Let me show you. So here's my cobalt. We're going to mix that with the gold so that you have something to watch that's the same. So you get a brighter green with less granulation. Still decent amount of granulation. Not really bad. But the greens are completely different. See how they're different? It's close, but the quality is different. So I find that I like having both in my palette. Some artists only use cobalt. They don't use ultramarine. Cobalt does lift really well. So if you're finding that ultramarine is not lifting super well for you, which I don't find. I lift it. I love the brightness of it. I think it's a super bold color. You know, I just re-wet the cobalt here. So, and again, this is Daniel Smith's cobalt, so it's going to take forever to re-wet, which kind of bothers me. But at the same time, you can get a really nice rich color out of it. Okay, we'll let those dry. Cobalt. What else can I show you? Let's take a look at the Pyro Red. Pyro Red is a beautiful color. There are some watercolor artists that have this as a basic red in their palette, and they just swear by it. I happen to really like it even better than Sennelier Red, just because it's more of a orange red, and I've always liked orange reds more. When you have a monochromatic painting and you want like that really big pop of color, that's the red to go with. I find that it's just really outstanding and it contrasts really well. The Sennelier red though is also a very, very beautiful red, and that is here. So it's more of a blue red. I have them both and I use them both because they're just gorgeous colors, you know. But you can, do you need both? Nope, you don't. See, that's a blue red. Prussian blue. Oof, Prussian versus indigo. Let's just think about that. So you're going to see right now the difference between Prussian. So Prussian's got a very, almost like the look of heliocerulean. And indigo has a very inky look, but they are very close. It's like they're made of each other, you know? You can see how close. What would I pick if I had to pick one? I would pick indigo. And the reason being is indigo allows me to add depth to colors in my mixes without too much brightness. So if you take indigo and you add it to a mix, it's going to give you like nice deep shades and very moody looks for your florals and earth tones and stuff, you know? So it's a great way to add a little depth to your colors. Pretty much any color you can mix it with. So yeah, so this would definitely be a mainstay. This would be a mainstay. Can't live without that. Quin Rose or magenta? Boy, tough call. I don't know. I almost want to say magenta, but Quin Rose probably because of the texture. Pyro Scarlet. So you can see already, you know, certain ones just stand out and I can't really do without them. I could do without the brighter yellows if I wanted to, but you know, they kind of like are a look, right? Imperial Purple by Daniel Smith. It's going to take me forever to re-wet this again. This is one thing about Daniel Smith. Takes forever to re-wet their colors, but there are some really cool sediments and things in these colors. Imperial Purple is neat. It's like if you took manganese violet and you mixed it with one of the pinks. You could and a little bit of ultramarine blue, and you would get that. You know. So do you need it? No, it's expensive. It definitely doesn't replace manganese violet. I'd rather have manganese violet. And again, I can get the granulation just by mixing manganese violet with my ultramarine blue. Just mix it with that, and you get granulation all over the place, and you have a beautiful imperial purple look, right? So you don't really need it. Do we need phthalo green light? You know, this is one of those colors that I just don't need in my palette, but I have it here. I really don't know why, because it's just been sitting there. But I think at one time I was mixing it to brighten up some of the greens on some of the projects, and then I just forgot to take it out. So I'm putting it here though, because you might absolutely need this color. You might be like, I want this color. Can you get this color? Yep, with a lemon yellow you can get this color. Just mix it with something like one of your blues until you get that bright green. Phthalo turquoise. This is my favorite turquoise. I cannot live without this shade. I love this shade so much. Is it better or equal to or worse the others? Well, if you're looking at cobalt turquoise as a comparison, it's different. Phthalo turquoise is less opaque. Cobalt turquoise, although you can get a very light shade of it, to get the brilliance, it becomes more opaque. So I use them for different things. So phthalo turquoise, I can paint a whole painting in, and it's gorgeous. Its transparency is just beautiful. Cobalt turquoise, I use it just for accents, to add a little shot of color as a layer over something else when I want it to really pop, because it is more opaque. So it's not really one against the other at all. I would rather have phthalo turquoise if there was a choice, but again, I can have both, so I have both. Heliocerulean is another very, very bright blue, but it is more blue tone than the turquoise or green tone. I love it. I use it to brighten up greens. When mixed with lemon yellow, you'll get that really, really bright phthalo green. What else can I show you? Cerulean is more in the blue family. Helio turquoise. Helio turquoise is very similar, right? Like to Helio cerulean. They'll just take over a palette. Helio turquoise is a bit more, I would say, more moody, where Helio cerulean is more bright. So Helio turquoise is more moody. Helio cerulean is more bright and like a cleaner blue. Both in my palette though. But do I need them? Yep, I need one. Which one? Well, you got to have phthalo turquoise. Of these two, I probably would keep, because I've got a lot of moody shades, I probably would keep the Helio cerulean because I really like the more blue tone to it, and I can get the Helio turquoise look by adding my Prussian green to something. So I would rather have a Prussian green than Helio turquoise, because Prussian green is really, really beautiful and moody. And I like the depth of color it gives me with the lifting power and flexibility that it offers, especially when I want to mix it with other colors. What else is in here? This is cerulean. This is chromium cerulean. It's like a dusty, really beautiful blue. This is really fun to use on, you know, different things, especially like maybe winter scenes where you want a little bit of a more moody sky, but makes great skies. A lot of these blues make great skies though. Mayan Genuine. Mayan Genuine is another Daniel Smith color, which again, you will see me sit here forever and try to get it to melt down, and it just doesn't want to do it. You have to soak it. So these colors, although they're really nice, some of them, being Daniel Smith, are expensive and they take forever to re-wet and can be really finicky. But I really do like that color. Is it better than Prussian green? Not at all. Prussian green is beautiful. It's very similar to it. So it does have a little more sediment in it, right? But you could mix Prussian green with indigo and certainly get that look. I like Prussian green better by Schmincke. It re-wets well and it's great. But again, Mayan green's a fun color. It's fun to use. Lunar blue is actually, I think, even more fun than Mayan green, because I could mix my Prussian in with this one and I would have the qualities of lunar blue. A little easier to re-wet too, and it separates into some different shades of blues and grays with a little bit of it's got a hint of like a cobalt turquoise in there. This is called lunar. So this is one of those colors that I wouldn't mind having and paying that extra bit for, because wait, can you see it? There you go. Because it's going to leave you with different shades of blues in there. So it goes from like blue gray to like a cobalt turquoise a little bit as it dries. Sorry, I gotta make sure I look at the camera because I have it zoomed in. You can kind of see it as it's drying. It's really pretty. What else? So indigo, we already talked about cobalt turquoise. So we covered all. Oh, let's just cover these greens. So as far as greens in my palette, well, you know, I already went through the turquoises. Let's look at this green. And this is a really, really beautiful green. It's really pretty. And it is the Viridian. This is Schmincke's Viridian. One that's not in here that I want to show you since we're on greens is this one. Where is it? Perylene green. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's this one. Nope, not that one. I did not put it back where it should be, so I'm gonna suffer. Might be this one. Nope, too bright. It'd be like the last one I choose, right? Let me see. Maybe I have it out already. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah. How gorgeous is that? Right? It's like a black green. I can't really mix this color this well. So I need it in my life. Perylene green. It's just beautiful. You know? I don't even know why it's not there. It should just be there, but I guess I just haven't used it in a while. So would I rather have Viridian or Perylene? Well, Viridian is more of a clear green, and I can get that by mixing a blue and a green together with the right jade. I can't get Perylene green to save my life. I just can't get the right tone. It's just, this one is just great, and I can't get the qualities, like the quality of this one. So I would always buy that one by Schmincke. Actually, guys, you cannot go wrong with Schmincke because it re-wets so well. And it truly is like the most high quality overall of everything that I've ever worked with. And I've worked with Sennelier. I've worked with, like, I don't want to name everybody because it would be like saying that they're not good. They are all excellent. But I just love the values of Schmincke. What they say you're going to get is what you get. To me, that's exactly what I get. They re-wet well. They mix well together. They just work well together. You know what I mean? This is Cobalt 533. You can see it's very close, right? It's a little brighter. I like these two in my palette if I'm going to do greens because I really can't make them as well as they are. I like them. You know, so they're convenient greens. Jadeite is interesting, but again, Daniel Smith, I sit here and re-wet. We re-wet. Do you need it? As you can tell, nope, you do not. It's just another bright green, and it's expensive too. So I love Daniel Smith, don't get me wrong. It's just that some of these colors, as beautiful as they are expensive for people to buy, and it's an investment. You have to really fall in love with it and know that you can't get it any other way. And that's not the case with a lot of the colors. You can actually get them another way. So you kind of like, the best thing to do with Daniel Smith is get the dot card, which I have, and then go through the dot card and just line up your favorites and see what you're excited about, like what you really cannot wait to get your hands on. And that will help you make a good decision as far as what to get. So what was that one? That was Jadeite. A little color here that I think every palette should have is burnt sienna. Now, absolutely the best burnt sienna is the one by Schmincke because it blends so well with every color I put it with. So if you want to neutral a color, like get a neutral, then you add it to any color. So I'm just going to put it here and mix it in my palette. And as it cuts through the color, you automatically will get different beautiful gray tones, different neutral tones. And that's what I use it for. That's what, like, pretty much all of the watercolor artists use it for, is to just gray out. So if you have a dirty palette and you add sienna, you now have all the neutral values that you could possibly want, right? Just by adding that in there. Look at that. Just have every shade, whether you want warm neutrals, cool neutrals, yellow neutrals, gray anything. So by adding burnt sienna, in essence, whatever you're painting, you can add a little burnt sienna to it, and now you have a neutral version of whatever you're painting with, which is so handy. But do they all work the same? No, they do not. So whether you get it in a tube or a pan, I highly recommend you get the burnt sienna from Schmincke. It comes in my 48 set, which I love, but you can just order it by yourself. So I ask you, what colors are your favorite? Because these are definitely, some of these are ones that I just love. And I find that I use them all the time. I keep going back to them. They never let me down. And, you know, can I do without? Yeah, I can even do without lunar. Like lunar is nice, right? But like I'd still rather have chromium cerulean and mix that with a granulating color to get lunar blue. Like just mix chromium cerulean with a cobalt turquoise or a phthalo, you know? I'm trying to think of what else here that I absolutely don't want to do without. I think I'm there. I really am. I'm not really choosing a lot of convenience greens. I probably just get those two. I mean, you could get jadeite or viridian. I think viridian's a smarter move because jadeite's a little bit more blue. Viridian's a color that might be harder to mix for you. But again, if you have Quin Gold, you know, and you get like ultramarine blue and mix in maybe a little cobalt, you can kind of shift and get them, you know, just keep mixing until you find the right colors. But overall, this is where I'm at right now. Those are the colors I grab the most. What about the CADs? Yep, I use CADs too. Like, you know, if I really want something bright and bold, but cadmium colors, they kind of take over, I feel like, a painting, and they take out the moodiness, and they tend to be a little bit too opaque for me. I don't know if I'm always going to feel that way. Sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. I know some painters that just use cadmium colors because they do have transparency, but for me, they make really muddy mixes, and I'm not really sure why. So I just don't have a ton of experience using them, and I'm not like sold entirely on them. I don't love them to death, you know? But as far as companies, I have everything from White Knights to Sennelier and Schmincke and Daniel Smith. I have Winsor Newton, just anything you can think of, even A Gallo and Roman Schmal. And I love them all. I really do. I have so much fun with all of the palettes. Like the Roman Schmal one. I got this palette, I believe it was for my birthday or for Christmas. And it's the Roman Schmal wood palette. I absolutely love it. I think it's so much fun to paint with. Here we go. Can these colors replace? Well, yeah, there are some colors. There's like every color you need in here, actually. Because you've got an Azo. You've got a cobalt blue, an ultramarine blue. You've got like this mineral violet, which is kind of like the imperial purple. The phthalo blue, ocean blue is kind of like it's very similar to like Mayan, maybe like Mayan genuine or lunar blue a little bit. You've got olives, hooker's green, the chromium green oxide, which is very similar to cobalt. Perylene green's already in here. Payne's gray. Prisbin gray is really cool because it's like a purple gray. Then some neutrals. The burnt sienna isn't as great as the Schmincke burnt sienna. Still, gotta get the Schmincke burnt sienna. The Quinacridone magenta is not as clear and advantageous as Quin Rose or the Schmincke magenta, but it's still really, really nice. You can see these are hand painted by the company. The manganese violet is great, but not as good as Schmincke. I still like that. The scarlet red and pyro red. The pyro red is nice, but it's actually brighter than the pyro scarlet that I use. And I really do like this one, but these two, not so crazy about. Scarlet red's okay. Scarlet Lake is okay. But as you can see, I don't really go into those. The Perylene maroon I haven't really used much. Naples, this is like, I don't like this one at all. I don't like permanent orange, so I could actually switch those out. The lavender is really pretty. It's actually a really nice color. I have the lavender by Daniel Smith, and I don't love it. It's too opaque. The royal blue is an interesting color that I've never had, and that is really pretty for skies. So this is another palette that's really fun, and I liked Roman Schmal so much that, call me crazy, but when they had a sale, I actually ordered so many more colors, and I haven't even unwrapped all of them. They have a beautiful potter's pink, and they have a really pretty ultra pink that's gorgeous. This is the ultra pink right there. I'm going to unwrap the rest of these and certainly do videos for you guys, because they have stuff like indigo that I haven't tried yet, just to compare it to my other indigos. And I'm working through them a little bit at a time. You know, I got so many and I love them. Watercolor, I feel like it's a great investment because I paint with it every day. I run classes and I just enjoy it. That it brings me joy. So anything that brings you joy is where you should focus your investments on, because why spend money on things that don't bring you joy? Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you got some value of it. Maybe you saw some colors that really like excite you. I definitely find that I use, you know, the colors that I highlighted the most in all of my classes. They're like my go-to mixing colors too. So I seem to be in that area right now as far as all these go. And I will certainly keep you updated. All right. Have a great one, and thanks for hanging with me. Bye.